Hi, everyone. I'm Wayne Sutton. I don't have a title, but guess who we have here today? The one and only, the official, the real CEO of Convex, Jamie Turner.
That's me. There was going to be some kind of showdown between Mickey and I today, but since Mickey didn't show up, guess who's the CEO by default? It's me. How
Yeah,
are
and
you doing, Wayne?
I'm good. I'm good. It's a exciting Friday, a busy Friday, a wild Friday for us. You have security officer
Yeah.
title.
Yeah, Mickey got a little tied up with a account hack this morning, which was lots of fun. So, yeah, I've just been, checking checking in on Mickey and making sure he's all good. So it sounds like the folks at Twitter are helping get it resolved. So,
Nice.
but anyway, yeah, that was kind of an exciting, unexpected thing this morning. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. Whew. But yeah, everyone who's watching, this is the first M.A.U. monthly active users of the year. Um, and we just decided to kick off the series. Mickey will be back next week, as long as he got his accounts back. And
yep.
this is where we talk about what's happening on the web, what happened on Twitter, what's happening with Convex, what's happening in the world, do some shilling and go from there.
I'm just here for the shilling. I didn't know we'd talk about anything else. I have to sell this thing. So we get to talk about other stuff too. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, it feels like things are changing so fast right now that you could have one of these shows every half hour and there'd still be a whole hour worth of new things to say somehow.
Jamie,
But
this is, you know, Mickey on Twitter called us, said that he was doing the show with two unks. You said you were not an unk. You were in your
oh,
prime.
this is my late prime,
All
my
right.
very late prime.
I'm gonna own to the unk. You're
Yeah.
prime, so you top prime. But this time you've been basically we saying we've been in tech for a while.
Yes.
Have you seen it move this fast before like it's happening right now?
I really do think the closest to it was 99, 2000, which was the very beginning of my career.
Mm.
But um, there were fewer people involved in it. The ideas were not moving as quickly because I think like the leverage of technology is so high now that we're able to create new technology on top of, and the number of people all applying themselves toward figuring out how to create new ideas is so high now that I think that the pace is even faster than 99 2000. I don't know if the innovation is as world changing, although it's probably the biggest thing since the internet to feel like this, but certainly the speed at which new ideas are being surfaced every 2 days, and it feels like you need once again need to recalibrate how you think about the future. Like that, I've never felt that way before. Having said that, I would, the last time I was part of one of these, I was also younger.
Yeah.
I don't like it takes me a little longer to process change now as a slightly older person, ever so slightly older person than back
Prime,
then, but it's
prime Jamie.
breakneck. What about you? How do you feel?
I love it. I love
Yeah, I know you do. Yeah, you love this stuff. That's great.
Yeah, I
That's
love
why
it.
I'm surprised to hear you embrace Unk. I'm like, I think you're even more in your prime than me, Wayne. Like, it seems like you're just like you're on top of everything. Like we're always just asking Wayne like what happened yesterday, and you already know everything about it. So
Yeah, I was
yeah,
spending too much time on a phone and Twitter and need more sleep. But when you get this when you get this much gray, and when I
yeah,
don't shave, you can't
yeah.
run from the unk. You just can't run from
You
it.
can't run from it.
You
I
can't
did ask I asked the other day, I asked my wife, I'm like, should I put the dye in my beard? She's like, just no, don't do it. You have to embrace it. I mean, come on.
um, I I did it once when Melinda, my wife and I, we met, and she was
Yeah.
like, and I did it while she was gone. She was speaking at an event, and she came back, and she was like, "What did you do?" Like,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
just didn't look natural.
It does feel like it's impossible to get it right, right? It's always too dark, right? It's
Yeah,
like it's like your beard is never this dark. Like
no,
fair.
yeah,
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 fair.
yeah.
So
But when everything's happened now, I love it. I'm a builder by nature, and community builder. What is like apps and people, and I just love how like it's the fastest time to ship your idea. Like there was a time in tech
yeah.
where it was a concept of ideas was worthless. There's
Mhm.
a whole conference called Ideas are Worthless.
Right.
and that's not the case anymore. So if you
Mhm.
have the idea, you can literally type it, and 5 minutes later, it's built or less, and so it's a
Yeah.
amazing time to be in tech.
Well, I think that maybe another parallel, I agree with you, and I think, like, a parallel to what really changed when the internet showed up is that so much of, like, business, right, had inventory right before,
Mm,
right? It was like it, whatever you were making, even if it was good, if you wanted it to affect and be valued by a million people, you had to, like, manufacture a million things, right? Which took time and, like, shelf space and capital and deals. And so I think the internet really opened everybody's eyes up to, like, the first .com revolution or whatever, right? Like, you can suddenly make products that the replication cost of that product is almost zero, right?
yeah,
Now, the creation of the product was still high. This creation cost was high, but the replication cost was close to zero, right?
yeah,
And so the distribution costs are incredibly low and things like that. And now this big step forward now is the creation costs have dropped the most significantly they ever have. Um, and that is, we all, once again, I think everyone is still trying to wrap their brains around, because I think that technology can change faster than people can figure out what to do with it. Like, that's actually the longest pull, is once we move beyond the shock phase, or like, you know, to check out the latest idea that came out yesterday. Here's a version of it. All that stuff is cool, but a lot of that, I think, is this process of slowly integrating it into, like, how does this become part of the next decade and the decade after that, which I think will take a while to settle into that still. Although I think we're starting to get, like, closer now. We're starting to have a little bit better sense of, like, how practices will change and stuff like that.
yeah. No,
But
agreed, agreed. Yeah, and you nailed on a couple things. Um, One is something that, Ray mentioned last night, one of our customers and champions, that talks about Convex. He said that he talks with startups, and he suggests that if depending on what stage you are, if you super early and really hadn't, like, gained traction, he suggests every 2 weeks, build a new app, build a new version, and release
mhm.
it because you can at the pace we are right now.
Yeah, I think, um I probably have, like, a slightly contrarian take on some of this stuff by
Yeah,
nature, right? It's just
yeah,
like, of the, I think that, the truth is, there's suddenly, like, I think for a long time it was highly fictitious, as much as we all wanted to believe it, that, like, the bedroom business thing really worked very well on the internet, and it definitely works now. And I do think, if that's the thing you're trying to do, like a bootstrapped thing where you want to find just a right product that solves the right niche, that, like, I think you can now do that better than ever. And I actually, I think that methodology sounds right to me. It's like, actually, just make seven of them. Like, Theo made a video the other day about, like, T3 chat was just the sixth thing out of 10 they thought they would have to build to eventually find a thing that stuck. And it just ended up being the last one, because that one hit, right? But, like,
mhm,
they are, even at that point, they had in mind, we're gonna have to make a suite of things. I think that approach is a great way to build, um, e- either projects for you or for fun, or a business, but maybe also a smaller business in
mhm,
some respects. I still think it's the thing that's, and again, I'm very biased party, having worked on Convex. I think, unfortunately, some really big things still take a lot of patience, and there's still some of those are still worth building too. And those have gotten faster to build as well, but they don't quite fit that cadence about, like, if you don't throw it away every 2 weeks,
yeah,
you're not moving fast enough. So I think, kind of depends, yeah, what your goals are. But, like, I do think it's extremely legitimate pattern that, like, if you're trying to build kind of your first working business as an
mhm,
individual, like, you should probably just, like, how do I make one of these a week, and then how
yeah.
do I test it as quickly as possible, that it feels right to me.
No,
Yeah.
agreed, agreed. Yeah, it's been almost feel overwhelmed right now.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. Because, like, I've, like, always been kind of like a dreamer and an ideas person, so
Mm,
I've always been just full of ideas, and it's almost bad for me now that it's so easy to make them,
goodbye.
because, like, the weird part about that is that, like, most of my ideas were bad ideas, but I would never, they still are, right? I think most of everyone's ideas are somewhat bad ideas. And so, like, the friction of how hard it would be to make it would sometimes cause me to look a little more closely at things which weren't a good idea. I almost can waste more time now because I'm tempted to build it. And so instead of it being like a 7-minute thing, it turns into a 7-hour thing. Before it would have been a 7-month thing, so I just wouldn't have done it, and it stayed at 7 minutes. So if you're overflowing with ideas, you can almost end up wasting a lot of time because yes, the implementation is now easy, but it wasn't really a good idea to begin with. It's another contrarian take, I guess, right? It's like,
Yep, no,
yeah.
yeah, I feel like you were talking about my side my weekend time for the last 2 months.
Yeah, but you've had some stuff really hit, Wayne. You've had some stuff that's just done really well. Were really cool projects. So clearly not all the ideas are I made that quickly, but it's still not good. Like
We
you
we
got
we
some stuff
we
that's
ch
working well.
we'll chop about that in a minute. We chop about that in a minute. What was web? Hey, web dev Cody.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey Cody. Yeah, Cody, I know Cody's been steering pretty hard into building this way and talking a lot about it. And I think, yeah, I've always thought that Cody's instincts were really good on this stuff. And, um, but yeah, I think this point Cody's bringing up too also feels right to me. It's like, um, yeah, you still have to like that in human integration time where that integration time is like your customer has to react to what you've made and let you know if it's any good. And they still need time away from whatever else they're doing to look at it. And then so there still are, even though we've made the coding part incredibly quickly, there's still a lot of other parts about like making useful things for people that haven't reduced to the same degree. And hopefully our brains are still patient enough after getting that like dopamine hit of how quickly we can make things to like listen as slowly as necessary to get the right feedback on whatever it is we just made.
no, agreed, agreed, agreed. And you brought up coding, and we had a
Yeah.
conversation about that this week. You know,
Yeah.
all hands and the pun did a talk on it as well, and it's somewhat a hot take, a controversial take. Coding is dead. Long live engineering. Can you dive more into that?
Yeah, I think that it probably is becoming less of a hot take by the hour, right? Like because all of us are realizing this together. That I mean, I my like holiday project was building something called Convex FS, which this future versions of Convex I think about all the time that would be shaped pretty differently in some respects than Convex today. And so one of my like theories has always been there's stuff we built into Convex because we had to because the component system didn't exist and it didn't really have to be built in. And in some ways the fact that it's built in it makes it harder for us to change it quickly or to get PRs from the community to help us fix it. And so Convex FS was actually an exercise in like how like what if file storage wasn't built into Convex, right? And like and I built that whole thing in open code. Like, check out open code if you haven't. I know everyone's talking about cloud code. Open code's better. Anyway, it's another hot take. Open
Yeah,
code is underrated. Very good. Yeah, I mean, I coached that thing through making that whole project, and it probably took me 15 hours of screen time once we're really talking about really like all the docs and all the polish and the bug fixes and the tests and the but if I had written it by hand it probably would have taken me 5 times as long maybe, you know? Um, it was way faster to do it this way. And so I think that like, engineering is dead, like, but if I didn't coach that thing toward fixing a lot of wrong assumptions it made, especially when it came to things like race conditions and edge cases and testing gaps and things that have fallen out of the context window because of compression happened and it didn't remember anymore, it would have not worked and users would lose data, right? Like,
totally.
so that is literally the consequence, right? When we're working on convex things, it's just like other people's projects don't work. So mistakes we make there like amplify to everyone else, unfortunately inherits those mistakes because they're a platform layer that
Mm,
other people rely on. And so like the engineering part about like, how do you know what questions to ask or what tests to have or like what architectural shape is kind of narrow enough but flexible enough to fit within the context window.
mhm,
That there's a lot of judgment in that. Like Nipun called it wisdom at this talk he gave earlier this week, which I think
mm,
is a really good way to put it.
yeah,
And that's really kind of what engineering is, and the coding was just like once you've decided all that, well, sure, you got to type a bunch of characters into an editor. Um, and I do think it feels like the consensus is everyone I'm talking to, senior engineers, junior engineers, everyone's just agreeing like kind of doesn't make sense to write code anymore,
Yeah,
right? So coding is probably about done.
yeah,
I think some low level programmers would say, not my part of the stack, like you CSS people maybe, but as someone that's written a lot of low level code in my life, I've written file systems and kernel stuff, and like I think even there, like it's you do have to set up more some more like scaffolding for it to not fall into certain pits, but like it's if as long as you set that stuff up, you really still shouldn't write most of the code by hand anymore. You should let an agent do it.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. On that note, we have some comments in here. I want to say they like the built-in file storage.
yeah, good. That's great. I like it too, except that I want it to be even better, and it takes too long for us to fix it and make it better for you guys. And I also like part of what I like about the component system is as people on Convex develop expertise working with Convex, they develop their own strong point of view about how they want some of these things to work instead of the simple assumptions we made. And I want if you feel that way, I'd love for y'all just be able to fork what we've done. And like the Convex platform doesn't have any special privilege about, like it's we somehow need to enable you to have the flexibility you need or to do things differently. So it's part of the vision of components is to allow that to happen. But but if it was working for you, great. We're not going to take it away.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. And you mentioned coach, and you got it. You were in open code, and you say you was coaching it. And can you dive more into that? What does it mean? Because like, does it mean a skill? Does it mean you have certain rules? Does it mean you just coach it with your wisdom you have from building complex apps and knowing the complex backend? So from your development workflow, what does that mean in terms of coaching?
for me, I would say it's mostly just based on my experience, right? So like I do think the model where you teach it you treat it as a really fast junior engineer is roughly right. Like maybe an engineer with like 3 or 4 years experience, so not right out of college, but like
Mhm.
and so a lot of the discourse is double checking assumptions about edge cases that I've built systems like this before, and I know maybe we missed this part where like, what if they upload this and then they close their browser and like, oh, that's a good point. So there's a lot of that where Opus will be like, oh, yep, well, we didn't handle that case. That's true. That could happen. So I could do a thing like this and then plan mode, always plan mode.
Yep.
Like I go back and forth between plan and build mode rapidly. Like I really like to approve what it's about to do in plan mode before it goes for almost every non-trivial change, especially if like there's consequences. If
Mhm.
it's just maybe adjusting the styles, I just let it go and I'll just
Yeah.
look at it. Um, but yeah, so I think it's mostly just based on at least the way I interact with it. And I think everybody has their different techniques, but for me, it's just mostly based on experience, right? And like I guess wisdom to Nippon's like, having seen this 7 times before, having built a thing like this many times before. What are the things I missed when I did it that showed up as bugs, and then you learn like about I guess the gaps that are easy to not see when you first write something. um, so I guess that's what I mean by coached it.
Got it.
It almost does feel like a mentoring session where like you're getting rapid feedback. But instead of it being a day later, they say, "Here are the changes I made yesterday." It's like 6 minutes later. Here's all the changes I
Yeah,
just
go
did in
check.
6 minutes.
Yeah, totally, totally, totally. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We have a comment box saying the comments book will help a lot.
Yes,
Thank
I am working on it. I have a PR. I'm rapidly iterating on a branch to write down like real world convex or back in engineering convex. I can't remember the latest thing I called it is something like building with convex or something. But yeah, there is the sort of like everything we've learned in the last 3 years about like how our team's most successful using what ideas from Stack and what ideas from Convex helpers and Discord and ideas our team has had or things that customers have taught us. We're sort of starting to put into a book to really have this higher level guide to success with Convex, especially in your first year or two on the platform. After that, you're an expert and you will probably do things a little differently. And that's okay too, because the platform's designed to be flexible enough that once you're like, I got this,
you.
we're like, okay, good, that's fine. So
No,
just teach us what you learn.
no, that's amazing. That's amazing. I know a lot of people have been asking for the comments book, and
Yeah.
the book, I'm assuming, is gonna have your Jamie's wisdom of all those years of building applications, because part of what I'm hearing is part of what I'm hearing from you about building Convex FS and what's happening with skills and all that so forth today is that you can take a piece of your knowledge you have from building those apps and write down a outline or a framework to guide the models to how you want it to build apps. And that's to me is almost the same synergy between a unique skill to do one thing well and from the individual as a wisdom, not just overall coding knowledge or how to build like a complete application.
Yeah. I think that, that's true. I think the challenge sometimes is that, like, the I need to engage more with the skill stuff. To be honest, I'll caveat that out of the gate to understand it better, but, like, the problem is, like, the combinatorial nature of how many different lessons there are to teach is really high, but that's not because, like, there's so many things to memorize. I mean, there's a lot of things to memorize or whatever, or a lot of things to skillify, I guess, for lack of a better word. It's because maybe more of the skills are around the meta level in a way, right? About, like, when you shape things this way, you tend to have these kinds of problems. These kinds of problems can be manifest themselves as a lot of different individual instances of, hundreds of different ways that could happen. But I do think there's, like, a smaller set of, like, some small low dozens of fundamental things. They're like, if you bias designs this way, you just tend to not have as many of those kinds of problems. And so, like, there's a video I want to make at some point called, like, why Convex is good at AI,
Yeah, 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 yeah,
why AI is good at Convex, right? And I think that one of the we were actually just talking about this the other day, but, like, one of the most common ways that developers sometimes have issues is concurrency, right? So it's that um, there are probably because of things like it doesn't have a lot of analogs to real life. Like, your brain's relatively linear. You
yeah,
interact with the objects directly in your space, right? So, like, the metaphor is weird about all these other things that may impact, like, the metaphor for what you're manipulating right now. It's like we don't, like, our brains are not used to needing to think that way. And so Convex's big goal is, like, make the world feel single threaded,
mm,
because that is the intuitive way to write code, right? And it's part of why under the covers we use stuff like sequential consistency and mutations by default and all these kinds of things that, like, that's technically how it works, but that's not really what developers say to us is why they like it. They say I like it because it just works. But one of the reasons it just works is it 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 allows you to pretend the world is single threaded and you're the only you in your headspace. The mutation, you have this local reasoning thing where you only need to think about the inputs and the outputs of this mutation. There's no races, there's no far-flung effects that would need to complicate you from just focusing on the code in front of you. And it ends up that that's exactly what agents need to.
yeah,
Agents is a context windows, and because race conditions create a kind of, like, combination of consequences that are so numerous, it's difficult to encode them in, like, the training set.
yeah,
That, like, as long as you don't introduce all those things by having agents be able to be very linear and just be like, this code in front of you and this one function is all we have to solve right now. They are so good at that. So that's why I think a lot of the guidance is really about, like, trying to set things up into the right kind of shapes. Even Convex as a platform is like that, so that the LLMs will just kind of do the right thing instead of, like, enumerating all the times they might not and having. So,
yeah,
anyway, it's kind of a long way to answer the question, but yeah, I don't know. I should also just play more with skills though to understand
yeah,
better. Like, you might be right that there's very tangible ways to think about the book mapping to skills
yeah.
too in some circumstances.
Yeah, we jump to skills in a minute, but what I'm a visual person, mentally, I just think when you were talking, I think about images and metaphors,
Yeah.
and so what you described in terms of, like, convex and layers and the different, uh, how developers should think about a single layer, it just I'm not sure if you are a Marvel person or Marvel junkie, I should know this about you, Jamie. But
Like, yeah, is this a multiverse thing
yeah,
you're
yes.
yeah.
It totally made me think about the multiverse,
Yeah.
and, like, I love the Loki series, and it's
Yeah.
thinking like, the multiverse is a complex mess that if
Yeah.
unless you're a
Yeah.
Marvel comic nerd, a
It's
junkie,
super nonlinear, yeah, and,
you
like
you don't
yeah,
think about, like, there's a 616, there's a 818 multiverse, and all these
yeah,
different characters, but as humans, that's too complex for us, like, we just wanna know what universe is Thor, Iron Man, um, 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 and the Captain
yeah,
America, what universe are they
I
in?
hear you. Exactly,
And
yeah, that's why when I watch, like, Multiverse, like, I get annoyed by multiverse Marvel because like I don't think that I'm not casting this as like a universal way to feel about this, right? But like I think the sensation, the feeling I'm looking for when I watch a movie is like I want to be somewhat comforted. I want escapism. I want to get absorbed into the thing. And I feel like if I have to start doing math to remember how to reconcile, I'm like, wait a minute, which timeline was right? It just sort of annoys me because I want it to flow. I want to stay in flow.
yeah.
And yeah, multiverse, as much as I've worked with concurrency in my life, like when I'm watching a movie, I don't want to think about concurrent race conditions or whatever. It's like,
Oh,
yeah, it's not the part of my brain I'm hoping movies tickle. I really want to be in flow,
yeah,
basically.
being
Um,
flow,
yeah,
see,
I think it's confusing, right? All these nonlinear things that, um, even like we were talking to somebody about this the other day. James and I, Convex co-founder, CTO, was written absolute ton of concurrent code and race conditions and consensus systems and all this kind of stuff, right? And like we like using Convex if we're just making apps because like we don't want to have to think about that stuff if we don't need to, right? So it is if you're like focused on the human problem, um you just that's what you want to think about right now. You want to think about I'm making like a app that does a thing, and like it's nice to stay in flow on that and not also have to be like, is this what kind of mutex is this or whatever. Like it's wonderful not to worry about those things.
yeah, no.
Anyway, I feel like you made the mistake, Wayne, but like when I'm here this turns all into shilling. I'm not trying to.
It's all good, it's all good, it's all good,
It's just I think this is the way my brain is wired to obsess over convex all the time. But
it's all good.
um
Martine be
my
like,
favorite AI model is it depends on for what, like just to Cody's
yeah,
question.
yeah,
Like, and then I want to hear Wayne's answer after I my
okay,
like if I like for code in general, Opus, and then if I'm asking it to make something prettier, I normally switch to Gemini Pro because I think it makes things prettier better than the
mm,
other stuff right now. And again, in open code, you can just do this on the fly, which is
yeah,
great. If for some reason I'm doing something that's relatively straightforward and I just want to get done as fast as possible, I'll go to Kimi K2,
oh,
and just have Kimmy do it. And honestly, sometimes we're just chatting with something to ask it questions about science or life or whatever. Not like life. I don't really do the like psychologist model thing. I'm not
yeah,
judging it, but it's not my. But if I just like oh my gosh, where do I find a thing that can attach this screw to this thing or solve this problem with audio on Linux or something like that'll be GPT a lot of the time for
yeah,
me. So yeah.
nah, great analogy,
What
great analogy,
about you, Wayne? What's your
yeah.
answer? What's your favorite AI model?
I'm all in on Opus, like,
Opus is very powerful.
yeah.
Yeah, it's very impressive.
Over the
Yeah.
holidays, yeah, that's why I was just cooking it, just Opus, and I explored with, open code, and I've been testing out all the different CLIs,
Mhm.
open code, uh, I like a fire well, I fired up Ghostly, and I opened a terminal, and I'm like, "Open code, call the
Yeah,
code."
Ghosty's good.
Yeah,
Yep.
and I recently just started as of last night, I've literally just installed Codex last night in the terminal,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
so, um, but, um
Yeah.
but
I know I shouldn't care about this. The only reason why I'm like have a soft spot for Codex, I just like the fact Codex is written in Rust.
oh,
Like,
yeah,
I know it doesn't matter, but like, whenever I'm looking at like, how much memory stuff is using, there's a part of me that's like, is this another thing we had to write in TypeScript? Especially for like command line app because the heritage of command line apps is so kind of C based and stuff like that. So
yeah,
it's nice for like Unix command line apps to be like pretty darn resource efficient,
yeah,
fast things.
yeah,
I understand why it makes sense to use the stack that they're using, but the selfish side of me would have liked that to be a nice tighter binary. But Oh
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, and to your point about ChatGPT now, Mickey was saying that the kids call it chat chat or just chat no, they call it chat, is that
Yeah, just chat. Yeah, go ask chat.
it's
Yeah.
called chat. Is that yes, it has become
James calls it chatty sometimes. He's like, "Just ask chatty."
it's chatty. I like chatty better. I like chatty.
Yeah,
But it's interesting now, it has become the yeah, if I have a everyday task, it has like, oh, something about a motorcycle part or something I wanna
yeah,
look up. Alright.
5'2" or something. Yeah,
Right, and
yeah,
it's like a totally
it's great.
chatty. If I wanna
Mhm.
code now, it's like, yeah, I wanna fire up a terminal, I wanna, like, pick a model like Opus and, I just used Gemini some earlier last year, but, yeah, I wanna use a CLI or IDE now, so it's interesting how that's content switching is happening that, yeah, I don't wanna use ChatGPT for code now.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
We'll see, we'll see, we'll see, but, we still have Code Antonio here. Hey, Antonio.
Yeah, it was a huge, and also too to by the way, Antonio, to also pick up a little extra crypto while I was at it. So I was hoping that wallet would get paid. Running a Series A startup is, you gotta pick up little bits off the floor when you can. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Gotta get your token, cash out, cash out. But,
that's
uh,
right.
but you bring up another point. We talk about open code and we talk about terminals and models. It feels like over the holidays, and I think we can give all the credit, most of the credit to DATS and the open code team, is that we have returned to the terminal. Like we're back
Yeah,
where it all began,
right.
is the terminal. And it's creating another shift in terms of, and that divided some in terms of like what a lot of IDE companies are now focusing on. So,
Yeah.
what is your take on that? Is that are you complete open code? Are you Z? Are you other IDEs? Or you switch back and forth and why?
I am mostly open code plus Z these days, right?
Mm,
So I'll normally have Z open next to open code,
mm,
but I treat Z mostly as a way to read
yeah, yeah, yeah.
when I want to go read part of what it did. Which, and I would say I do that every 4 or 5 prompts. Like,
Mm,
normally, many prompts, mean not plan mode prompts, build mode prompts. Most builds, what it's doing, I'm pretty sure it's pretty straightforward enough, and I probably know exactly what it did based on its plan, and
mm,
the risk is lower that I don't go look what it did. I will be more likely to like pop over into the editor if like it just did something a little tricky or I have questions about whether the test suite is testing what they say it is. Um, and then before a push, I'll often open up the editor and be like, okay, let me take a look at what we got here, especially from like the
yeah,
edge of the API perspective. Like, because I think one, again, with that whole context window thing, like the models they will leave dead code behind all the time, and you're like, why is that method still there? It's like, oh, forgot about that one. I'll take that out. So but yeah, I love using Zed for reading and checking on the agentic progress. But I don't know why. Yeah, something about it's, I love terminal interfaces. Like it just feels like it doesn't distract me. It keeps me really focused. Again feels nice and fast. It's just like just the information, please, kind of a
yeah,
thing. And but I'm also too. I kind of like I grew up in Vim and FreeBSD and stuff like that, so I'm kind of used to that way of working. It may not be an absolute, but I like it personally.
nice, nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was
Are
chatting with
you in Cursor a lot of the time, or like was if you're just like building on a weekend, is that usually Cursor with agent mode, or like what's your yeah
yeah, 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 it's with Cursor, being a
yeah
UI person, so
I totally understand. Yeah, the stuff that's like they drop the rendering engine in line with the app so that you can see it as it works and stuff like that, or they have the work tree integration if that's what you like, the way you like to work. Yeah, I get the virtue of those things. So for whatever reason, I'll just go into a tiling window manager and I'll pop up the couple of things next to each other,
yeah.
and that does well enough for me.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I wanna check out your flow, 'cause, I wanna get I want for me, like, I like to know what people are building, like, what their experience like, how 'cause, with Convex, we wanna make sure everybody has a nice developer experience, and so I like to dive in, so, okay, is it Cursor, is it open code, is it, CLI, so but it's I just find it surprising that we had this moment, we have in this moment where a year ago it was like vibe coding, vibe coding, vibe coding. And it created this big tension in the whole industry with software developers, full stack engineers, full stack developers, so forth. And then fast forward almost a year, quite a year later, we were back to the terminal. And
Yeah.
and so it's just in terms
You
of
know, I have a theory why.
okay, okay, let's hear it.
All right. So, and now I'll be a little broader. I'll speculate a little bit. I don't think this is just me. I think this is many people. I don't know if it's most people, but many people. Is that if a tool is compelling enough, we will tolerate it even if it's slow. That's
Mhm,
my theory.
mhm,
And VS Code has been that for a long time. Is VS Code is such a compelling development environment. I mean, even the JetBrains was even worse, right?
mhm.
Like these things that JVM based or whatever. Like it was really good, but kind of sluggish. But like it was so good, you just dealt with it. And I think that the more we don't need the whole mothership because we're not making code directly ourselves anymore, and the models are doing a lot of it. It starts to kind of put pressure back on the slow thing again, and the terminal thing is fast and light. It's not visually cluttered. It doesn't distract you. It keeps you focused. And then when you're like, well, I want to read code, now you can just grab an editor that's not as full featured but is really fast
Yeah,
and again has less visual noise in it and like lets you stay focused on exactly the information you need. So I think that it might just be that the VS Code stack is kind of starts to get threatened a little bit when the thing it was built for, this sort of like I'm typing the keys environment that it was so good at. It was so phenomenal at that people were willing to look past
mm.
its bloat
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
how busy it was and how much information you always didn't need was in the display. As soon as you don't need those things anymore, you start looking for more minimal tools that are just really, really good at the 3 tasks you need instead of the thing that does 91 tasks because of the complexity of what you're trying to do.
No, great point.
Um,
Great point.
yeah, that's my suspicion is
Yeah.
it starts to it's finally time to sort of like pay the performance piper that has been kind of always lurking behind the VS Code world.
The performance piper is
Yeah,
nailed
I don't know what that. I don't know if that metaphor works out the way I intended, but I
it.
think
What?
I think you'll know what I mean.
The CLI
Yeah,
is the performance piper. Alright, cool, cool. That is a great point because you can, I wanna call anybody out, but you don't wanna feature creep a IDE. That's you just don't want to, right? And it can
yeah,
happen fast.
yeah.
So, yeah,
Also, too, that's part of why like I actually love moving more toward a world where like talking about components again for
yeah.
like 30 seconds or
Mhm.
less. I want to move more to that world is because I really love being able to refocus the core of Convex on being really, really good at the core responsibility of Convex, which is kind of this reactive, database and reactive runtime. And that people can opt in to more and more capabilities via a really nice component system when they need them. But like, if you're making something simple, the out of the box version of Convex is also just incredibly simple and focused and really fast, right?
Yeah,
And really cost efficient. So we want to go make that a way of operating. I like that way of composing systems together, is to have this really, really minimal core that carries its own weight on its own by virtue of just solving the main problem as well as it can.
yeah. No, it makes sense, makes sense. Yeah, and, I was talking
But
with
I have a question for you about sandboxes. Everyone's talking about sandboxes right now. I have like a shameful question, which
okay.
is like I don't know what they're talking about. What are sandboxes?
I
Is this
wanted
just like a computing environment? It's ephemeral that you throw away? Like is it a Linux environment? Is it like a container? Is it? I don't know what sandboxes are. I feel
yeah,
if someone in the comments knows what sandboxes are, let me know because I feel like people have said like Convex should work well with sandboxes, and I'm like, yeah. And then I'm quietly like, I gotta look into what sandboxes.
and I'm blaming Mickey on this. I'm blaming Mickey this.
Okay,
He was
yeah,
on vacation.
he's not here, so we can blame him for everything. I
Exactly,
think that's
exactly.
yeah,
He was on vacation back at home, and he's in Ethiopia visiting family, and he was like he's sick. He posted that he's sick. I'm like, okay. Then he posts that sandbox is gonna be the future. Everybody's like, what? And
Yeah.
then, everybody's talking about sandboxes and all the other companies, so forth. And so, I don't know exactly. I went to a Daytona meetup the other day that James spoke at, and I got a little bit of a more understanding. But the way I look at it is sandboxes basically helps you spin up a environment that can easily, like, basically build a code in that environment, and it can be deletable
Oh,
or
yeah, you can throw it away easily. Yeah, like an ephemeral machine thing, right? Some kind
yeah.
of virtual thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
even
cool.
Palantir put out a post yesterday about, like, sandboxes and
Yeah,
what they're building. But we have HTTP actions, which I had to talk with James about a little bit last week, and,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
actions do a lot similar to sandboxes, so
Yeah, I mean, all of our contexts are ephemeral, right? And, um, which is cool. They need to be more flexible so that people can specify more about what libraries they're depending on. I know people sometimes like them to be in other languages like Python.
yeah.
But sometimes a term shows up and I'm like, there's only really like 6 ideas in computing. And I'm like, which combination of these 6
Which combination
ideas
of sandboxes
do we
is
have a new label for today? And then are the VCs all talking to each other about it at the cafe or
yeah,
whatever?
whatever the hot thing is, they're like, "Yo, we gotta invest, or who's in our portfolio?"
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Okay, so I have to look at camera again. Ready? Convex is the sandbox company. This is
Imma edit this. Say it one more time, Jim. Let me stop that. Say it one more time.
all right. Convex, where to get the ultimate AI sandbox. There you go. We're going to the moon. We're going to the moon. Sandboxes.
To the
Let's
moon,
ship it.
to the moon, to the moon.
Yeah.
Going back to ideas for a moment, IDEs for a moment. I was talking with
Yeah.
Jordan,
Yeah.
amazing engineer here
On
at
our
Convex.
team. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, I was taking a quick note, and I pull up Sublime Text, and Jordan was like, "What's that?" And I was like, "Oh, it's a
Oh, oh, you feel so old. Oh, what's Sublime Text?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I was like, Sublime Text was the GOAT at one
Like
point.
this used to be the shit back in the day. Okay, I gotta tell you.
Sublime Text was the
Back in the Rails days, people would think I was so cool right now when I pulled this out.
Sublime Text, and,
Yeah,
like, you just fire it up, and yeah, I'm just surprised, like, it just works. It
yeah,
just works. Yeah.
right, yeah, yep. There's some of those programs like was the one on Windows for so long. It's like Win Edit 32 or something like that. It was like this is bulletproof, really simple text editor that I think for just like 35 years they collected $6 a license on or something. Like I'm sure that worked out really well for someone, but
Yeah.
it's a container focused on executing untrusted code. Okay, got it. So yeah, kind of ephemeral, private, right? So that if it has some nasty side effects, it's not really leaving behind anything awful or
Yeah,
getting to anything
yeah,
sensitive. I guess that makes sense.
yeah, yeah, cool. So I wanna jump to skills right quick, we're talking about
Okay.
sk as of
Yeah.
today, as of
Yes.
this morning, there's been 2 more major shifts that well, not a shift, but companies come out like they're not embracing skills as the thing.
Right.
Was, Content 7,
Yeah.
um, added skills to their context, API,
Hmm.
and
The
then
Upstash folks. Yep.
yeah, yeah, uh, shout out to Obsessed folks, and then, who else? Cursor, they had the slash
Hmm.
commands,
I've heard of them. Heard of them. Yep.
and Cursor's like, "We don't slash commands, now they're gonna be
Yeah.
skills."
Okay.
Yep, and then
I
go
I
ahead.
think what's cool maybe about skills is to me like even going back to MCP, right? It was pretty clear that like there was going to want to be like it's weird to say context specific context, but I can't think of a better thing than that right now. There's gonna be this dynamic need to put context into these things depending on the environment they were operating in.
Mhm,
And whether that was MCP and then it was like, Claude.md and then agents.md and then
mhm,
cursor.rules and then like maybe now it's like skills and then skills have more metadata like you
mhm,
can invoke this and they have more structure to them or whatever. To me, as long as eventually we all agree on a thing, because there's going to be so much cool traditional engineering work that can be done with these things. But if we change the standard every 2.5 months, like it's going to be difficult to like figure out together how to use this like dynamic context thing.
Yeah.
And then I think the other thing that undermines it, it's always been interesting that we've learned too, is it like the models just kind of get better at stuff over time anyway. And so sometimes there are things that you had skill files for that you don't need anymore, or, but I think I get that there's a real validity to them right now. Like I said, this latest iteration of it, skills I haven't done as much with, um, but yeah. So as part of what you're saying, Wayne, is it like some of the bigger platforms like Cursor and stuff, they're starting to standardize on skills? Like we're going to do skills everywhere. Is that, can we
Everybody.
finally rely on this?
Yep. Yep, that's what they're doing. Everybody's
Okay,
embracing it. It's just the thing.
cool.
Meanwhile, Anthropic is still like, "Hey, here's the framework. We came up with this." They have a
Yeah,
directory, but there's something they can just come in and be like, "Yeah, we're gonna
yeah,
take marketplace," 'cause, Vercel was slick. I give it to Vercel. Like, they jumped on this early. They basically came out with their whole, skills.sh, basically the new
yeah,
NPM of skills.
yeah,
And, so they released that 2 days ago, I think, and they was slick with that one, and so
yep,
it's we're in a movement, and I agree. Just pick something. Just pick one and stick with
yeah,
it.
yeah. Especially because all everyone that would ostensibly use whatever this dynamic context methodology is needs time to implement it and measure it and talk to their users and stuff. And so when it's such a moving target, that's why I think a lot of these things, whether it's agents.md or claude.md or cursor.rules, there are things that are like feel like proxy wars for these big folks, like claiming exclusive territory of a thing where instead of us, there's another move that's 5% better, but the reason it has to exist is because it was done first by one of the labs or first by one of the major tools. And then if everybody starts cloning it, sure enough, another one is going to create another one they innovated, but then only works with their platform for some period of time. So I've said on Twitter is like, I just think what's fascinating about this whole space is the switching costs are so low
Yeah.
that the degree of panic in these places to figure out how to reduce or how to make switching costs higher is fascinating. But I
Yeah.
think it's also some of the like turbulence we all feel all the time is all of them looking for strategies that increase switching costs, and then we feel like we got to throw everything out every 2 months because of that.
Yeah, no, agree, yeah, and, I have two more things on skills. One is that
Yeah.
we released skills. I put up some skills last
Yep.
week, because based on, like, building apps over the past year and things I've learned with Convex and these IDEs, to go check them out. But also, I like the strategy that we're taking, and this is giving you some flowers because it took me a minute. I was like, "Oh, we need to get these skills, our skills out," because like, I saw it coming, right? But I like the strategy you like, "Let's before we put out the official combat skills," like, when you put these out, you've been working on this, cool. But before we put out the official combat skills, because we're a database company, we're a platform, we need to
Right.
like benchmark these skills with evals and the models. And I haven't seen there's one company I've seen do this, but a lot of other companies, not other database companies, they're not actually testing out does the skill actually work with the model and actually helps the developer perform the app perform better with the database. And so
Yeah.
it's about like the strategy around that.
Well, yeah, I mean, thank you. And part of that is just because, like, there's times in the past we've gotten this wrong, and so we just kind of learn from, right? We're like, we created the cursor dot rules and put a lot of work into getting the scores up, and then we've subsequently learned that for a lot of the best models now, they do worse with the current cursor dot rules. And so, unless you have an institutional commitment to maintain or revisit or potentially deprecate a substitute with something new, yeah, it's tough with all these things because like it's easy to go on Twitter and say 10 minutes after an idea is born, here's our version of it. And I think that you learn so much from doing that. There's no reason why we shouldn't. It should be like, I just tried this, here it is. I think the thing with Convex is that, especially when we end up in like customer support relationships with people that are trying to be successful, is to allow experimentation to happen without immediately canonicalizing every new idea is like the thing everyone should use. And like we will help you be successful in a support ticket if you use it, because like that means everyone at Convex needs to understand what Wayne's idea was, right? And the thing I don't like about that is I actually think that inhibits innovation actually because it just makes the bar too high for like, oh, nobody can go YOLO something because they thought it was cool yesterday because like that's de facto official, and now that everyone on the team is going to be like, what is this people are asking us about, so I do think that separation is nice, and something we've tried to always push for.
Good point.
Yeah,
Good
I also think the biggest evidence you have to like, we should make this official, we should all learn it, is like your customers eventually tell you, because at the point where everyone's like, we're all using this, you guys don't know about it, then at that point, everyone in the company goes, wow, this is a critical part of how people are successful. So we're going to own this thing. Let's all learn about it. So you'll get the feedback anyway if they all try the idea that starts on Twitter or whatever. And they'll teach you that you should figure out how to make this a kind of part of the operating culture of the whole company to commit to maintaining it.
Yeah, a great point, and great point. The second thing is, I'm not gonna say the B word because Mickey brings it up all the time. I'm not gonna say the B word,
I
but
don't know what the B word is. Uh-oh.
it rhymes with rubble. I don't want to talk about it. You would talk. I don't want to talk because I love the moment we're in right now. We
Uh,
need we need this moment
yeah.
to keep going another 5, 10 years. Like I love it, but but
I don't want the moment to go another 5 or 10 years, to be honest. Yeah.
okay,
because
three.
because I'm trying to hire top engineers right now, and that a little bit less frothiness would be nice to,
Okay, okay.
yeah. But I completely understand the desire to have the bubble keep going.
I get
I'm
it.
not saying that's a raw. My selfish feeling is a little bit less bubbliness would be. It's kind of like that. What happened to Google after 2000 or whatever is like, if you are operating a company with margin capability that's growing steadily as a long-term vision, then sometimes after bubbles burst, you can have all the best people in the world come work for you, which would be very exciting.
Yep,
So
yep.
that's my only selfish reason for maybe not being that excited about. Also, too, if the bubble's going to pop, like the bigger the pop is, the it's always the hardest to deal with. To be sorry, Wayne, go ahead. You like I
Good.
interrupted you. Let's be pro, but let's hear the pro bubble take.
No, 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 but well, it's actually not. It's not a pro bubble take. Well, it's
Okay.
just an alt bubble take. Is
Yeah.
that it's interesting at how fast we're moving right now. And
Yeah.
if you go to the average human, like on the street, like what's like, have you wrote your skill at MD? You be like, what's that? Right?
What is the skill at MD?
What's
What's an MD?
what's, what's
Is
MD?
that like a doc? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, what's MD, right? It's right. And so it's
Yeah.
like here we are, like moving this industry forward,
Yeah.
and Chatty doing his thing with being like a consumer world app. But like the average human, they're like, what's a skill? Like, what's it?
Yeah. I mean, even the average engineer actually,
Oh,
right? Like, now things like using cursor is becoming pretty mainstream, but I do think there's a yeah, it feels like what happened yesterday is happening everywhere all at once at full speed. It's really, I mean, I think those of us living on the very edge of this stuff, like it actually, most of the world's not moving quite that fast.
yeah, yeah, no, no,
You post on Twitter every now and then about your latest touch grass thing. I think it's very important people get out and touch grass, or like go talk to anyone that doesn't work in the technology industry, or anyone even that doesn't work in Silicon Valley. It's just some sort of like frame of reference reset every now and then. So, because I think it can make your anxiety go down too, where it's like you're not falling behind, you're actually way ahead,
yeah,
right? But like everyone is trying to grapple with what's going to be changing, but it's not going to change nearly as fast as you think, and you're fairly ahead on all the ideas. So
yeah,
your anxiety can drop a little. You can probably take an hour off and go read a book or something.
yeah.
The world won't end.
No, 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 no. That's a great. Thank you, and great point. Like, um, and James mentioned this recently when he went to home for the holidays about talking with people not in tech. And I just think it's so important just to, diverse your network, your circle, right? People not in tech, people who do different things, sports, so forth, gaming. I was I was gaming with one of our customers and one of their friends who are way different, like they different parts of the world. One's in London, one's in Canada, and just the conversation we were having was just way different than I would with people in SF and tech. So it's just,
Yep.
yeah, gotta do that.
Yep. Life is still happening.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, cool. Take one question from the, chat, and then we get ready to wrap up. But it's a support
As
question.
long as it's not about you hosting, we'll
Oh,
answer
no,
it.
it's not. I
It's
wasn't gonna
coming
bring it
really
up.
soon, I promise.
I
It's
wasn't gonna bring
coming
it up.
very soon.
I wasn't gonna say anything. Yeah. So
Does Convex currently support Flutter or Dart through any community-made plugins? I think there is a Flutter binding that a community member made a while ago. I don't know if they're still maintaining it. We haven't used it internally at all to try it out, so probably the most honest answer is basically no. So I'm not aware of any large customer using it. So it's probably like you're not quite at square one, but you're probably at square like 2.5.
yeah, yeah,
So if you go search GitHub for that, you can probably find the start edit that somebody else took and take it from there.
yeah. Cool. Thanks, Jamie. Thanks. Yeah, and before we wrap up, so Ralph Wiggum, what's your have you played with it? What's your thoughts on Ralph?
I
Like,
don't know. Like, I know Mickey's been doing stuff. It's just basically like running a loop until a series of invariants are satisfied. Is that basically what you do? You just run the thing over and over again on a larger spec until it's like, yep, these things are all true. Is that the general idea?
yeah,
Okay.
I watched part of his video. It's
Yeah.
kinda wild. You give
Okay.
it you create this plan,
Uh
and
huh.
you basically let the plan, keep running and
Right.
automatically update this text file as in a
Hmm.
loop until it's
Right.
completed,
Yeah.
and yeah, I feel like I have no use case for it, but I guess
I'm gonna do the classic like Apple thing here for a second. Like, it's cool. Feels like feature, not a product kind of it is like, because last time I was talking to somebody about this, I'm like, it feels like if you give the right prompt to one of these agents, like open code or whatever, like it essentially kind of does this anyway, where like you're like, here's what success means, and then like don't, come back to me when you have success, right? And so it feels like this pattern maybe formalizes that or has an intermediate artifact that represents how close to success are we or something. But I haven't played with it.
yeah.
I like my thing with any of these ideas, especially if it's named Ralph Wiggum. I love The Simpsons, by the way. Is like on week one, I go, huh. And if people are still saying it on week four, then I think
Yeah,
because
yeah,
90% of things like are either dead or the lesson was learned and absorbed into a tool I already use, so I
yeah.
don't need to go individually engage with a. So I don't know. What do you think of Ralph? You said you're not quite sure what to do with it?
I
Yeah,
watched Mickey's video and I was like, "Okay, I get it." But I also think but I didn't think it was a feature, but you made it that's a great analogy because I think some other companies already started to implement it,
yeah,
to their model, but, um,
yeah.
yeah,
There is a side of me that just wants to succeed, so that like one day we're still saying Ralph Wiggum to each other all the time,
yeah,
and like
yeah,
it's like Gartner has like a Ralph Wiggum matrix or something. It's like who's innovating and who's leading and who's.
yeah. So basically we're gonna get like, I feel like when we eventually get to AGI, we're gonna look back
uh
and say Ralph was the foundation, right?
Yeah, it all started from Ralph. Who knew? His finger up his nose, but he had all the right ideas the whole time.
Yeah.
So Ralph was the key.
Awesome, awesome. Alright,
Yeah.
quick round. What are you excited about this year the most?
Um, I'm excited about. Um, I mean, I love the fact that people really like Convex. That's great. I mean, that's already been happening, but I think that is very exciting. I think I'm very excited about growing the team and bringing in. It's always fun to work with new people,
Yeah.
and we need to hire a lot of people now to come own stuff. And Convex is now at the point of maturity where like we have more and more really challenging like systems and scaling problems that
Mhm.
like are worth doing, which they weren't worth doing before. And that kind of work is always really fun, and there's a chance to really innovate. So that's cool that we're going to get to do that together. um, I guess those are convex answers. I don't know personally. I don't know. Being less stressed than last year, that would be good.
Agreed, agreed.
Yeah. What do
Same,
you what are you most excited about?
same on a personal level, just be way less stressed than last year.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
excited about that, and, going to, like, comments part is we're in a great position to, like, have, like, global communities around the world, like, have meetups and events and talk about
That's
comics.
true.
There's
Yeah,
a Comics London meetup that's happening next month, and, like,
right.
I'm ready for Convex meetups around the world, just bring people together
Yeah.
and learn from one another and see that engagement, and so it'll I think we're gonna call them sync ups, like Convex sync ups, like
Yeah,
Bobo sync
sync
up.
ups. Oh, that's good. That's clever. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's good.
so
I hear there's rumors of a Convex conference maybe this
oh,
year.
yeah, that too. That too. The Convex conference this fall.
Yeah,
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 so that brings a different little stress though, but yeah,
yeah,
but
I bet.
we're gonna have fun with it. We're gonna have fun
Yeah,
with it. Yeah, because,
cool.
and, uh, some new designs and things, so yeah, it's gonna be a vibe.
Very nice.
Alright, cool. Alright,
Cool.
Jamie.
You
Yeah,
wait, do you think did we do it? Did we do okay without Mickey?
yeah, I think we
I
did.
think we did okay, right?
We were great.
I don't think we need that youngin around here, like,
Nah, I
he's
just
just gonna say, like, "Skibbity toilet" and stuff like that and confuse us, right? Like
he's just gonna pitch his RAF demo, that's
yeah, he's gonna say you should throw Convex away, just go all in on Ralphie or whatever.
yeah,
Like, "Guys, big idea,"
yeah.
something. So,
Ah, cool,
um,
cool.
cool. All right, Wayne, well, this is fun.
Yeah.
Everybody watching, it's difficult to ascertain how many of you there are through just talking to Wayne here, but assume some of you are watching. Thank you for watching.
Yeah,
So, and we'll
appreciate
do this again soon with Mickey. We'll probably let him in next time,
it.
right?
Yeah, we
It's
love
probably
it.
still a good idea.
We'll say it.
Yeah.
Make a trip.
Yeah.
Yep. Alright, thanks, Leo. Alright, everyone.